get going here. If you have any questions about anything we show today or anything we talk about, feel free to post them in the question section. We may decide to pull them up in the middle of the presentation, or we may take them just at the end. But either way, the question section will be a little bit easier for us to kind of wade through the questions we might get today. Also, with GoToWebinar, because we're able to show our mugs through this entire thing, you have the ability to see, obviously, the webcam as you're watching the presentation. But if you want to resize that window so it's not so clear, I wouldn't blame you. You can go ahead and do that.
We both shaved this morning.
I know it. But HD webcams aren't very, we don't have makeup. That's all right. So a little bit about me. Kevin Holbrook, I'm a technical solution specialist for CADimensions. Really what that means is we go around helping the sales group and helping our customers understand the products that we have and how they might fit into your process, and help tie those two things together. I've been at CADimensions for 13 years now. Been using SolidWorks for 17 years. I came from Xerox prior to that. I kind of married into I'll call it a strange family. They would lovingly like to hear that, but we end up raising beef now. So I have my own herd of beef. If you've seen beef prices now, you can understand why that's kind of a nice thing to have.
Everybody.
And every year we go to a rodeo. And no, I don't sit in the stands and watch. I actually go in the back and I push the cows through the holes that don't want to go through the holes. And I actually work for 4 days, so it's a pretty crazy thing. It's awesome. I've enjoyed it. It's kind of dangerous. That's probably why I enjoy it. Every summer we spend the whole summer down at camp. It's really nice to kind of have that getaway.
Can we buy beef from you? James want to know that.
You could. I've done that before. We usually try to do it for our own consumption, but we have definitely done that.
All right.
Done that before.
Put in your orders, guys.
All grass-fed. I'm married with a 4.5-year-old daughter, so those of you who have kids, you understand what stage I'm at now.
But it gets better.
It gets better. I'm actually expecting triplets in the fall, so my life is going to be changing considerably.
That's awesome.
Hopefully I still remember all these cool SolidWorks things that we're showing after 3 little ones arrive. So
that's awesome. It's going to be cool, man.
It is.
All right, switch over to me. So, I gotta show my screen, right? Gotta get all this down. My name is Lars, and well, the accent is not painted on. It's like I'm originally from Denmark. I've used SolidWorks since 2007, and I do somewhat the same what Kevin does with helping customers and our salespeople with showing SolidWorks and our other cool products. No, I do not wear wooden shoes. My grandmother did used to make blood sausage, though. And I like Beer Fridays, and don't make me pronounce V's and frets versus threats and all that stuff, all that good stuff. All right, so that's enough about us, I think. Let's get into the fun stuff. So the agenda today, this is really cool. We have a lot of good stuff for you guys today. We actually have a special guest today. Got a good friend of CADimensions, Rob Jost is on board. We're going to do some tips and tricks because I think that's the fun things about SolidWorks, right? There's so much cool stuff in there. So Kevin will show some of his stuff, what I'm excited to see what you've come up with. And then there's this new product out there, SolidWorks Inspection, what I really wish was available a few years ago when I was in the industry. I love that. We're going to do some news, and so, of course, like Kevin said, while we are going through this, feel free to put in your questions and comments inside the chat. Let's keep this formal, right? And we have already discovered that Kevin does sell beef if anybody's looking for that. And then also, the last thing we're going to do is, if anybody was sitting in on my Lunch and Learn last Wednesday, we're going to give announce who the winner was of some morning coffee. So make sure that everyone stays awake for next morning show. So let's jump into to the fun here. So the first thing here is SolidWorks product definition. So we have a really cool guy with us here today who's going to jump in and give us a little bit of insight of what happens at SolidWorks. So some of you guys might know this guy. He has been out visiting some of you guys, Rob Joff, who is product manager for the product definition team. Really cool guy. You know, he's one of these guys who does some good stuff for SolidWorks. I'm going to let him show that. One thing you maybe didn't know about Rob, if you have seen him, is that he's actually a pretty cool outdoors guy. This is actually Rob when he's, you know, when he's not doing SolidWorks, right? Then you're gonna be changing diapers. This is Rob does. So I will have Kevin switch it over to Rob, and thank you for taking the time, Rob, to
cool.
be here.
Thanks, guys, and congratulations, Kevin. That's
Thanks,
great
Rob.
news. Yeah. So can you guys see my screen here?
Sure can.
Okay, cool. So what I will do is go through and talk about the product definition group and what we do here at SolidWorks. So first, we'll do an overview of product definition, basically who we are and what we do. And then we'll go through a year in the life of a product definition person at SolidWorks in order for you to better understand our role and how SolidWorks actually gets developed each year. And then finally, I'll do a little section at the end on how you as users can get involved in the future development of SolidWorks. So the product definition group belongs to the R&D organization at SolidWorks. Okay, so we're not sales or marketing or even customer service. We belong to the core R&D group. We are all engineers and former users of SolidWorks. Right? We are seen as the bridge between customers and software developers, since it's our responsibility to understand what the customer needs the software to actually do. All right? So with that said, our core deliverable to the company and to users really are these formal documents called functional specifications. Okay, these are the guiding documents that developers follow as they code new functionality into future versions of SolidWorks. And these documents are very detailed. They lay out everything from workflows to even the user interface and how it integrates with the rest of the system. And as the developer starts to make the new feature or function actually come to life in SolidWorks, the spec ensures that what they're coding is always useful to the users in solving a real problem, right? Not like it just looks cool. So one thing to note here is that we do specialize. Right? So for example, on the sketch and surfacing PD, since I have most of my experience lies in the consumer product design field. So admittedly, I might be a little weak with sheet metal, but we do have sheet metal PDs and weldment PDs, people who are experts at drawings and so forth. So let's take a look at a year in the life in order to better understand our role here. So like I said, we are technically the bridge between customers and software developers. So the first major responsibility we have is to be close to customers. This is to ensure that the information we're writing down in our specs is actually useful to users and not something that's just fancy in software. So the first thing is research. You know, this is going on all year round, all the time. We do internet research. We research different industries, manufacturing processes. We do competitive research. Then we have brainstorming sessions. This is when we all get in a room together and we kind of share the wealth of knowledge between all the different niches. You know, something that's great in sheet metal may also benefit surfacing, for example. And then finally, there's customers. We have a lot of interaction with customers. So every one of us is required to do at least 4 visits per quarter. So that's 16 customers a year each that we visit, and that's throughout the world. Another thing we do is phone interaction or go-to meetings. We might just call up customers that we know or customers who are experts in their fields and get feedback and learn things from them. There's the online discussion forum. We definitely go on there and comb that and mine it for information. There's the online enhancement through the customer portal. Users can go in and actually submit enhancements. Those enhancements go directly to us in product definition. We process all of those, so we're always aware of what the incoming enhancements are. And of course, then there's feedback from tech support. You know, the certain part of the software suffering from quality. And then, of course, surveys. We'll always shoot out a survey every now and then if we want to learn something very specific. So after we do all this research year-round, it comes time to form the next project list for the next release of SolidWorks, which we're actually doing right now for SolidWorks 2016. Okay, so there are a lot of stakeholders that have input in order to help form this list. So it's our job in product definition to sort through it all and work with development to come up with something that will work, not just be a healthy release for the users, but it's going to be good for development to ensure their success. So first, we have all the information from our customer visits get pulled in. Then we have all the incoming customer enhancements and ESPRs that we file. And of course, anything we learn from customer interviews, customer alpha testing, things that carry forward from previous releases. And of course, there are development considerations. So they have their own agenda sometimes. They may come to us and say, if you let us take a few weeks and revamp some of the architecture deep down inside of SolidWorks, that will open the door for like 5 or 6 very popular user enhancements. So of course, these are the kinds of things that we want to do moving forward. And then there's product management. They steer the more business end of things, but they definitely have their own agendas, how they want to see SolidWorks evolve in the future. And of course, there's feedback from sales. We have a big conference with them at least twice a year. And of course, there's always competitive pressure. What are those guys up to? Do we need to react to anything? And then once we have the project list, we get to work, and that's usually around the summer, unfortunately. We write our specs. And like I said before, these are very, very detailed documents. And they define everything. They state what the problem is. What's the problem the user is experiencing? What's the proposal? What are we trying to solve here, and how are we trying to solve it? Okay, now what are the workflows? Very detailed workflows that the user will go through in order to solve their problem. And of course, this functionality, how does it react with the rest of the system? Like, is it a sketch? Does it have to have a dimension? Therefore, it needs to show up in drawings? That kind of stuff. And then we also design the user interface. What does it look like? Where does the user click? And on this part of the spec, we work very closely with our sister group, which is the user experience team. And it's their job to make sure that everything in the UI makes sense, and that the user isn't going from extreme left to extreme right in one quick workflow, and things like that. And of course, we document use cases. What are the real-life use cases and manufacturing processes that this function is supposed to tackle? This way, it kind of sets our QA team up to test the projects correctly. And then we go into a project management phase. And this is where we sit side by side with development as they write the code. So here at SolidWorks, the product definition group, we don't all sit together. We sit next to developers in our specific areas. So as they're crunching the code, I can just walk over to their desk and take a look at the project as it evolves and watch it come to life. And as, of course, I get to test it too right away. And of course, as you're testing it, you may realize that, your first go at this wasn't exactly the best direction to take, and you can adjust the spec as you go and make those small adjustments as the project evolves down the road. And then, of course, the project gets to a point where we can put it in front of customers, where we'll do alpha testing with them. So we definitely we let customers sign NDAs, and sometimes they come here to SolidWorks. Sometimes we'll do it over a GoToMeeting. We actually watch them use the functionality, and from that we can learn a lot, where we went wrong, how we can improve it, that kinds of stuff. And then, of course, we collaborate a lot with our QA team. So they're the people that need to test these projects. So we will work closely with them to help set up their testing scenarios to ensure that what they test is what the user will really do. And then at the end of the project, we all sit down and we demo it together. We go over the spec. We actually look at the spec compared to the functionality, and then we decide, can we ship this in the next version of SolidWorks? If we can, we will sign off on the project and it moves to beta. And then, of course, as you go around the calendar, there is a big event that we're very active in. I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's called SolidWorks World. The product definition group plays a big role in this event mostly because we are surrounded by 5,000 plus customers in one spot. So we definitely take advantage of that. We're required to at least give 2 presentations at World, And the rest of the stuff we do is really interacting with customers. For example, we have meetings with customers. We hold one-on-one sessions. We hold group focus groups. And on the weekend before World, we even conduct 2 days worth of alpha testing of future functionality. And then finally, in the development cycle is beta. So this is something users are all familiar with. This is right before the new version of SolidWorks comes out. At this point in the game, product definition typically starts to kind of get a little hands-off with the projects because this part of the calendar falls on the spec writing phase. So when SolidWorks 2015 goes into beta this summer, we're going to be writing specs for 2016 already. But we still are involved in beta to an extent. For example, we will still conduct some surveys based on what users have seen of the new functionality. We definitely monitor the discussion forums because a lot of questions come up that we can answer. And of course, we do continue testing functionality, and we definitely track some of the service requests that come in for beta just to keep our eyes on and make sure that there's no big major showstopper bugs that come through. So how can users get involved with the future development of SolidWorks? It's great that product definition is here to do that. But like I said, we definitely like to stay close to users, so this is how all you guys can get involved with us. And the first one is host a customer visit. Like I said, we each do 16 a year. There's 3 main goals of these visits. Okay, we want to come in and simply just review your experience with SolidWorks. We just want to discuss your ideas that will make your life easier and basically understand your needs as a SolidWorks customer. Okay. These meetings last around an hour, but they can definitely be longer. I've spent much longer at customers before. Of course, we love a tour because it definitely gives us a better idea of what it is you guys really do. Okay, so if you're interested, you can email solidworks.product-definition@3ds.com, and I'll send that email to Lars so he can send it out to you guys in case you're missing it here on the slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know. We have dragged you out a few times.
Definitely. Yep. So the other way users can get involved is by actually submitting enhancement requests. They come directly to us, and you do this through the customer portal. So when you log into the customer portal, there's your home screen right there. There's a link right there that says enhancement requests. Go ahead and click on it. And when you do, you get a little search window that lets you search by keywords. So you can actually put in, drawing tolerance. You can, put in surface continuity, and you're going to get a list of enhancement requests that already exist. And when you do get one, you can click on it and vote for it. Okay. So when you do click on it, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. And at the top, it will tell you the SPR number, it will give you the description. But what it has here on the form is the opportunity for you to give additional information. And this is stuff we love. The more information, the better, because this ensures that if we ever do implement this enhancement, you've had a say in it. You've stated your use case, and your use case will be cross-checked and put into the spec. So you can type in here whatever you want. There's a button there at the bottom to add examples. We love examples. Attach a part, some pictures, anything that just better describes what it is you needed to do. And then when you're done, go ahead and hit the vote button right there, and that will add another customer hit to that SPR, making it more severe. However, if you can't find your SPR, on that original form, there is a link there to create a new enhancement. And this is the form that loads when you do. And just some stuff, it's pretty straightforward to fill it out. What area is the enhancement in, what's the version you're using, give us a quick description, and of course, again, here's where you put in the meat of it. Give us as much detail as possible, steps to reproduce, and of course, there's a link here as well to add examples, which we love. And then when you go ahead and submit that, it gets processed on our end, and at some point you should receive an email back letting you know that you have an SPR number assigned to you. And that's pretty much it. That's product definition in a nutshell, and how you as users can get involved with us.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I have definitely seen customers who have done that, right? That they have put in the service request. There's some function in there, and You know, goes a little time goes by, and then suddenly, hey, guess what? That function is actually in there. I think that's pretty cool. That our users can actually affect the software to do what they needed to do. So it's really cool what you guys are doing, being engaged, and like Rob said too. If any of you guys are interested in having possibly Rob or somebody else from the developing team coming out, then let us know, because we can definitely do that, and it's pretty awesome. Some cool visits.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Rob. Really appreciate it, man. It was really cool.
No problem.
All right, I'll talk to you later, bud.
All right, later.
Cool. So that was awesome. I think that was pretty cool.
It was.
Thanks for him to take time out of his busy day. Now he's going to jump from a cliff or a snowboard or something like that. No, so that's really cool. I think that's something for you guys to be aware of. That's something that they offer and they're aware of. SolidWorks is really, they're really into that. Cool. So, well, I think I'm just going to jump into the next thing, because who don't love some tips and tricks, right?
Some tricks.
And I'm curious to see what he comes up with, because that's always good. Let's see what Kevin has in mind. But let me start out. So I'm going to start out with, well, just a couple of quick ones. Let Kevin do the cool one. So let me just open up a part here. And this was actually one customer that came to me the other day. If you are making a drawing, so let's go in here and just save this to my desktop. Just have a block here. Let's make a drawing of this. And it comes to updating your dimensions inside of SolidWorks, inside of drawings. One of the neat things about that is that you can, if I'm placing a dimension in here, that now when I change the model, this one is 8 inches, when I change the model, it updates, right? But I think that it's important that that, again, we just as a Rob on here, that they do listen to customers when they have, suggestions of things that they need to see. If you didn't know, if you go over and you right-click on the top of your drawing here, there's actually checkboxes where you can check or uncheck if you want the automatic view to update automatically. So if I keep it checked on, as it is in default, if I go in here to my part and I change this to, for example, 12, and let's do a Control Q so it's updated, then it have automatically updated on our drawing. That's how we normally see it. But sometimes you're like, you know what, if you're playing around with different sizes or different things, maybe you just rather want to be flagged about it. So you can actually go over here, and if you uncheck this automatic view update, now you will see that when I go back to my part, and let's change this to something else, maybe 6 or something, you will actually see that when I go back to my drawing. You see that? Now it has this orange, yellow update here, and we got the flag. So I think that this is important to know. Now to fix this, all we really have to do is doing a rebuild, and then you will see that it updates. But it's kind of like one of these gates. So that could be handy for you, and it will flag, right? So it's not like it's going to do it automatically, and it will just tell you, hey, are you sure you want to update that? So I thought that was a pretty neat little trick.
On the assembly side, that's great if you have a large assembly that takes a while for the drawing views to update.
Right.
Maybe suspend that a little bit.
That is true. That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I wanted to show here before we send it over to see what Kevin has is, let me just open. I actually spent a little time and modeled something really complicated up. And now I have this in RAM because I saved this. What is typical? Now I have everything open here. Right. Oh, so I don't know which one it was. It's not typical. All right, Kevin. I know that when you're working in SolidWorks a lot, but I wanted to ask you a question. Do you ever use Format Painter when you're inside of Word? You know how you can take some text and you can change it over and
I have seen it. Have I ever used it? No.
Now, did you know that in SolidWorks there's something called Feature Paint? Do you ever use that?
I have not.
It's one of these interesting ones where, it's always fun to have to come up with tips and tricks and things, and then when you're goofing around inside the software and suddenly you're like, what does this do? Well, Feature Paint, well, it's inside of SolidWorks and it's right underneath your tools, and what Feature Paint actually will let you do is it will let you take a feature and copies properties over to another feature, okay? So in this case here, I have this very long boss right here, and I have this little short boss over here. And I can actually go over here and click on my large bars, and then you will see over here that that was selected. And now I can actually go over and select my short one, and all the properties for that one actually apply here. So if I hit apply, you will see that the second one suddenly took the same depth as the first one. So if you have some pockets and you know that that depth is actually what you want these other to do, you can actually use this feature paint to bring that over. It actually also works on colors too. So if you ever work with somebody, maybe somebody like me, that goes in and decides that they're gonna paint a certain feature. In this case, we cannot do it faces or bodies. But if I go into this fillet here, variable fillet, and I decide that I'm gonna make that one I really like, this is in some awkward little, let's get a little dark purple, because if it's too purple, then people's gonna make fun of me. You can actually take this color and you can paste it over on another feature here. So if you go into Tools and Format Paint, you could actually select that variable over here, and then again we have the fillet sitting over on the other side. We can select our feature tree. Seems that was a little bit easier. And now you can paste those colors over there. Now you could also do that though in SolidWorks. They added a new function a few releases ago. If you click on that, oops, let me get out of the feature paint. Click on this one here. There is the copy and paste appearance. So you can actually go over here and click on the two small beads balls, copy that appearance, and then you can go over here and you can actually paste it on to that too. But you know, this feature paint here, I think, is a pretty neat kind of new discovery, maybe for many that's in there.
Sure, there's a lot of uses for it. That,
you know, when you start thinking about it, that, you know, you have some different pockets that is all in a certain size, and you have some other pockets that needs to be in that size.
you know, all of a sudden you decide you want to make all the holes the same depth, and
Yeah,
you can go edit the feature and go through each of them, or
exactly. Who want to be over this feature tree?
yeah,
Heck wrong with that.
exactly.
Cool. All right. So let's see. What do you got, bud?
So surprisingly, Lars, I found a drawing tip and trick, just like you.
Awesome.
That, you know, it's been there. It's just kind of one of those things that maybe you're just not aware of why it does certain things. I just want to illustrate. This is obviously a drawing of a very simple part, but if I look at the sketch of the part itself, you know, I have all my dimensions. I've placed them on there. I may choose at some point to put them onto the drawing, but the ability to put them on the drawing is somewhat skewed by where they get located when I actually do that, right? So I go to drop these in using insert model items, and this is what happens. I bring them all in. I have a big mess, right? And I spend the time positioning and locating all these dimensions. But what you may not be aware of that is in the software, and why it's on by default is, I don't know, I think it shouldn't be on by default. But at the bottom of insert model items, you have used this dimension placement from sketch. Therefore, wherever you drop the dimension as you're sketching, is where it's going to use to position it on the drawing. So
and when you're sketching inside a part, you're not really concerned about where it's placed, right?
yeah, I don't. I mean, you're typically not even looking straight on it,
That's
so
right.
you're just kind of dropping wherever you need. But in this case, if I turn that off, which I think should be off by default, the software is actually going to distribute and place the dimensions around my part in a much nicer fashion. So I've heard customers say, well, I don't use dimensions from parts because when I do, it's just a big mess and I feel like I have to redo it anyway. Turning that off is at least going to give you some placement that does vary between the dimensions, so you can at least distinguish and decide what you want to remove. But I want to just take that a little further. In your tools options for the drawing itself, under dimensions, you'll have an area off to the right here called offset distances. These offset distances actually dictate how far away from each other they get placed and how far away from the model they get placed. So I'm going to kind of exaggerate this here. I'm going to say, you know what, when it spaces out the dimensions, I want them 10 millimeter from the model, and we're going to make them 10 millimeters from each other. Now when I do the same thing, I insert the model items, turn off use dimension placement from sketch. You can see that they are further separated from each other. And the more you play with those numbers on your templates and set those up, it's going to make it a little easier to bring in these model items and start to work with those. So I think that's
cool.
A nice little tip that's in there. The second thing I have relates to circuit boards.
Okay.
Now, not everyone has premium, right? So not everyone has CircuitWorks.
True.
However, everybody that's on here that's using SolidWorks has CircuitWorks, but probably doesn't know it. They have a version called CircuitWorks Lite. I get asked this simply because we'll walk in and customers want to have their circuit board shown, but they don't have premium. Maybe they haven't been able to justify buying SolidWorks Premium. However, if I do a file open in SolidWorks, many of you may have noticed this IDF import at the bottom. IDF is an intermediate format coming directly from ECAD or board design softwares. And you have this in the base package of SolidWorks. So what happens if I decide to open up one of those files? Now, because I have premium, the software is automatically going to say, hey, you know what? Do you want to use CircuitWorks to do this? Or do you want to use CircuitWorks Lite? Now, CircuitWorks Lite is included in every seat. You may not be aware of this. I'm just going to tell it to process it with CircuitWorks Lite. It goes ahead, tells me how many components, and it's going to go ahead and build my circuit board. Now, just like our Express tools, a light version and a full version, there's going to be some variation in what it supports. What you're going to see with using CircuitWorks Lite to open board designs is it's going to open it up as a single part with multiple bodies. It also has some limitations to the number of components it supports in the hundreds versus the thousands in CircuitWorks.
That makes sense.
However, you do get a full board with all your Z heights, all your components. Components gets named. What gets a little bit harder is if you want to structure this in, let's say, a bill of material where you have the board and each component listed on the bill of material as an assembly. Just for instance here, I did the same board as an assembly using full-blown CircuitWorks, and you can see that each of the components come through as separate components. It also will support other things like trace paths and holes and other variations.
But if you just need to bring it in.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you just may not be aware that it's even there. So I guess the first thing to think about, going to your ECAD group is to find out if they can provide you a format out of that program that can be read in here. And like I said, it's an intermediate format. With Lite, it doesn't support this full spectrum of formats that the full-blown CircuitWorks does. And then the other thing is that your ECAD group has to be putting in Z height data for all your components so it can read that in and actually build the height to each of those components.
But I think that that's an interesting point, because that's really one of the things about SolidWorks is that they import a lot of things, right? So a lot of the other CAD softwares, at least back in the day, you had to buy all these different converters. Whereas SolidWorks actually, they have all those converters. So once in a while, I just go to File Open and just see the, I call it the Cheesecake Factory menu of different things you can bring in. Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it's pretty neat that there's a full-blown product, but yet you get.
Absolutely, yeah, that's awesome.
And a good chunk of people can get away with just having a part.
Yeah.
And just may not be aware that it's there. So moving on a little bit, in the last 6 months or so, there's been a lot going on at SolidWorks, new products, a lot of things coming out. So we wanted to start to introduce some of that in what was released Thursday last week?
Something like that, yeah.
So SolidWorks Inspection was released. SolidWorks Inspection is a tool for creating ballooned inspection drawings and inspection sheets, typically an Excel file or some external format where you have the dimensions, the tolerances, the inspection methods sorted in such a way that the person doing the inspecting can go give the inspection, type in the value, and you can see if it's within reason to the characteristic itself. So SolidWorks Inspection is released, and I just wanted to give everyone kind of a taste of what SolidWorks Inspection can do. Now, I'm using SolidWorks Inspection standalone, and we'll talk about what that means, obviously, here in a moment. But what we need to do to start off is to create a project. Now, a project could consist in SolidWorks inspection of multiple drawings that we're going to work with. In this case, notice the formats that I'm dealing with: PDFs, TIFFs, and I open these up into this external program. I'm not in SolidWorks at this point, but I do have the ability to, see my SolidWorks drawing. The interface is kind of organized a little differently than we're used to. However, it does have the tabs at the top, typical of our command manager. Now, the first thing I need to do in this project, remember I'm viewing a PDF file, is to fill out some information related to the project itself. That information consists of things like part name, part number, and you can see other custom properties. Now, because this isn't a SolidWorks file, I don't have custom properties like that, right? And there may be some metadata in the file. However, I need to get this information. Now, this particular tool uses a technology called OCR, optical character recognition. What it's able to do, and I'm just going to zoom into the model just a little bit further here so I can get a little closer to what I'm looking for. I can use the OCR, optical character recognition, to go ahead and window over the text on the PDF file, and the OCR software is going to read the text. So in this case, it got it exactly right.
And this is a PDF.
This is a PDF. So I can continue to fill out project information by just mousing over and windowing over the individual pieces and fill out the rest of this information. Now, the intention of what I have to do here is I need to go through this drawing and really capture all the pieces that we're going to use to inspect to. And the software allows me to set things like what color balloons I want to use in my inspection drawing, what the size of those are, whether there's leaders, where they're positioned. You have a lot of control. But then we start to deal with what it is we're actually capturing. Now, when I talk about capturing, I'm talking about this OCR recognition that you saw me do in the title block there. But we can capture dimensions, notes, tolerances, surface finishes, welds, and when we capture them, we bring them down here to the bottom to a place we call the bill of characteristics. It reminds me a lot of a bill of material in SolidWorks in that it has a bunch of headers that have information that it's reporting on each characteristic. Now, this is how you might typically use this. I'm just going to tell it I want to capture some dimensions, and I'm just going to go through each one by one and start to capture them, and it's going to increment the balloon number as I do this, and I can work my way around the drawing. Okay, we'll go ahead and, not that one. There is a function to delete. Like that. Let me just head down here. I can go ahead and continue to capture the characteristics that I want. Now, in this case, you see what I just did is I captured the character and never got the tolerance. I easily can come back through and say, you know what, let's recapture that. I didn't quite get that right. I can get the information that I need.
But it's actually capturing over to the left. It's actually capturing the tolerances too. Yeah.
So what happens is, and the reason I kind of flew right through that is because each capture, what it's actually physically doing, let me go to number 1 here, is it's capturing a picture of the information, and it's trying to extract the rest of the detail about that particular dimension, while at the same time ballooning it for you and maintaining the balloon numbers. So in this case, for our first dimension, it was able to determine the nominal size, the tolerance. It was able to calculate the upper and lower limit just from a PDF file.
Very cool.
Okay. Now, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. You can modify the tolerance values here. But we can also now provide other information about this particular characteristic. For instance, what kind of methods are we going to use to inspect this particular piece? Is this being done on the CMM? Is there any other comments associated with this? And notice when I filled out CMM, it shows up in the bill of characteristics,
cool.
Essentially bringing all those pieces together. Now, on top of that, we can go ahead and grab GD&T frames and pick characteristics within those frames and tolerances and notes the same way. All of this, the intent is to be able to get this data out of the PDF and into an external file, right?
Yeah, because it's not doing much good here. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I got this bill of characteristics. It doesn't help me externally when I'm sitting at the CMM or I've got the calipers in my hand and I'm trying to do these measurements. So with inspection, you're going to have the ability to export both the PDF, which is the ballooned PDF, or PDF plus your template or Excel format. I'm just going to export the Excel. Now, there's a bunch of forms like your AS9102 and your PPAP forms that are included with the software. And what you're essentially doing is telling the software, okay, what it is we're trying to export in this case. And there we go. Kind of hard to see. It'll go ahead and take that bill of characteristics and export it directly to that Excel file. Now, what this eliminates, obviously, is the need to go back and forth and look at the drawing, type the value in on the,
absolutely, sitting there and just typing, 25 inspections and figuring it all out.
So with your experience, how long would it, I mean, an average drawing, 50 dimensions?
Oh, sometimes and you always do inspections in the end. You never have time to do it because you're kind of like a finished, the part is running out on the CNC machine, and now you're like, oh man, the operator needs to get an inspection sheet. And, yeah, I have spent hours and hours on creating these because you're sitting inside an Excel. I know, I was just talking to a guy the other day, he said that he can spend a day and a half on some of his. So, yeah, that's amazing how quick you can generate that. And that's all the numbers right there from your PDF.
Yeah, and the high probability of typing something in wrong.
Oh.
Just human nature.
Right. Well, and the math, it's doing the math. You can see if you're looking, so you have the dimension, but it's all good, but it's even showing you the upper and lower limit in that column. That was, sitting there with a calculator putting all that in. That's awesome. That's pretty cool, man. I really like that. And then it works with PDFs, so you guys get PDFs, which is like really, many people get these PDF drawings, all you get too. But this is the morning show, and this is CADimensions. This is SolidWorks. I think this should run inside SolidWorks too.
PDF isn't good enough, huh?
Well, if you do get PDFs, that's very helpful, and it comes, this software comes in two different variations, and so you do get both the one that runs inside SolidWorks and one outside. So if you do get PDFs, using the one outside is definitely worth it. But yeah, this is SolidWorks. So I have the same one that Kevin had here, the same drawing, but I modeled it up in SolidWorks instead because I think that SolidWorks is maybe a little cooler here. So I'm just playing around with my PowerPoint. All right, so you can all see my screen here. So this is SolidWorks. Well, so inspection, so like I said, it comes kind of like in two flavors. There's the one that you can import the PDFs and the TIFFs that Kevin was showing, but it's much cooler to do everything inside SolidWorks. I'm sorry. So it's an add-on. So you can go in here and you can turn it on as an add-on. So this is where all the SolidWorks add-ons are in if you're doing simulation or routing and all the other ones that we have. So you can see that it's sitting right here, SolidWorks inspection. So let me just turn it on here. And really what you get is, well, you get the command manager up here, like, the ribbon bar up there. And then we get also a little icon over here, another little tab over here that we can work with. Now, what is really neat about inspection inside of SolidWorks, because that's where I prefer to do my drawings, is that we already have all the data in here, right? Right. Ta-da! So there's really not much to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project in here, and again, I get prompted with really the same interface that you saw Kevin had, because there's always certain things you have to hammer in there, such as your part numbers and your part names, and I can definitely start typing them in. But if you use custom properties, what I think everybody should do, you can actually click on here and you can bring up the custom properties right from your file. So now I think it's all right to be lazy when you're working with the CAD. So now I can actually just go in here and I can just grab whatever I want and just click on it and it fills it out. So now I'm going to say, well, what rep was that? Well, if you have that again on your on your custom properties, you can just fill this out. So, that's pretty easy. You can just fill all that in right there. You can, of course, control, again, all the options you need to control what numbers you want to start with and things like that. Now, you go to the next tab over here. Now we can actually control what do we want SolidWorks to grab. Because, again, it knows we have all these dimensions we just put on our drawing. So now when we come to the point where we're actually going to start inspecting it, we start thinking about, well, maybe I don't want to show certain things. Maybe I do want to show certain things. Maybe I don't want my notes to be included in this one. I just want to take a few inspections. You want to take whole call-outs, GD&T. So you just check what you want. And then when you go in here, you can change your tolerances, all those things, really just hitting the green check mark. And at this point, Inspection Expert, I've actually extracted all the different things that I wanted out of here. So now I can just quick balloon it, right? Set your balloons, and now I literally have the different balloons for the different tolerances and dimensions that I chose to check in this. So you see all the ones that is marked for inspection now have this in here. And of course, this is SolidWorks. So what you can do in here is you can actually go and you can grab things, you can move things around, so you can organize things where you want it in the tree, for example. If there's certain dimensions you don't want, you can just right-click on them and turn them off if you don't want those to be inspected. So you have all these different functions in here. And of course, what is neat about this too is that since we're inside of SolidWorks, if you do make a change to the part and you then come in here, you really just have to quickly update your balloons and the dimensions would have changed. So again, like you said before, retyping things, that is just a chance for a disaster, right? When we got to sit there and type it in manually. And then again, from right in here, I can actually take this and I can just go ahead, like Kevin did, and export this right out into my Excel spreadsheet where I want to end up anyways, right? So now I have that inspection sheet right here that I can now print out. And again, if the customer calls, because as always, I've never ever modeled anything up and the boss was like, yep, that's what we want. Go ahead. There's always a change, right? And again, because we're inside of SolidWorks, that means that when we update the model, we can literally just go in and re-update this in here. You can see we have the little traffic light in here, which we're familiar with, and then we're running. So pretty neat how it comes in there.
It's important to note with the forms, there's some included forms.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using an existing inspection form, we can set it up to accept that data as well. There's a form creator that allows you to put the logic in there. So as soon as you export it, it knows where the data needs to go. So it's
and again, also with Excel, all those templates are Excel based. So you can put your own company logo on there. You can really make it your own. And it already comes with, I don't know, 5, 6 different ones. So you kind of start out. One of them have a big logo on it, so you can just replace that with what you have.
Big time saver. And another product in the portfolio.
Yeah, well, it's just cool how they keep on adding these in there. Like, it just makes our life easier, right?
Absolutely. So our next segment, we just want to talk a little bit about what other things we're hearing, or we'll call it in the news, other things going on, and we'll keep this fairly brief this morning, let you get going. But Draft Site Professional. Some of you are saying, Draft Site Professional, there's a professional version of Draft Site? Well, as of right now, there was Draft Site, the free downloaded, and then there was the premium pack, which was a paid version that included some things, allowed you networking for larger organizations. But for those folks who wanted some of the premium features but didn't have 5 users that needed to use it, they've developed the Draft Site Professional that included all the tools that were in the premium pack, but this is for the individual user in this case. Some of the things that you may want to try out, the toolbox standards and the APIs to write your own thing in Draft Site. Now, the reason I bring this up today is because you can try Draft Site Professional for free for 30 days. And you don't need to contact CADimensions. You don't need to do any of that. If you open up your Draft Site and in the bottom command prompt or command editor at the bottom, type in this _ start trial Draft Site Pro.
Start trial Draft Site Pro. All right, I can do that.
Restart your draft site, and then you will have 30 days of all of the professional features.
So what is the professional features?
So your toolbox, your draft site API, the iQuestion integration, the design library, the full list that we had there. So you're going to at least be able to try that out and see what it's all about, see if it might be worth your while to take a look.
Hey, it's a free download, right? So if you don't have draft site right now, it's like AutoCAD. You can go to draftsite.com and just hit download, and now you can even get to play around with the professional version.
Absolutely.
For free.
For free. Other things that are kind of going on in the SolidWorks portfolio, Plastics was released last year, and I think in almost all instances where I went and showed Plastics, it got to the point where they said, well, how does my part warp after it's filled with plastic? What's that look like? Or the cooling lines? Well, recently, within the last few months, SolidWorks has released Plastics Advanced, which includes your warping and your cooling analysis. And I just wanted to give you a brief look into what that looks like. Inside SolidWorks Plastics, we can now get the ability to model up your cooling lines to provide optimal cooling to your plastic parts throughout the entire cycle. Now, when you provide the optimal cooling, you're going to have the ability to see after the part cools how much is it going to warp and what is that warpage going to look like. Now this particular part, this is 10 times the actual warpage, but you can clearly see that this corner is going to have some more bend to it after it cools off than the rest of the part.
Yeah.
Therefore possibly causing an issue. Now you can look at gating it, cooling it differently, and I think this rounds out that group of plastics products.
And it's a lot easier to do it now where you're looking at the screen instead of when you're standing with the pot in your hand and the mold is built, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, how do you make a decision? What do you go after next to minimize warpage?
Right.
I mean, are you
Tribal knowledge,
filling,
big grinder, welder, yeah, right?
filling in the runners and the gates on the mold and cutting in new ones? And
no matter what, it's going to be on.
Yeah, it's ugly. So that, I mean, that's my in the news here.
That's really, really awesome. Cool, man. All right. Well, that's some good news. Yeah, it's pretty neat how SolidWorks is just adding these different ones on. I really think that's awesome. Very cool.
Presenter?
Make me the presenter, please.
There we go.
Awesome.
What's in the news on your end?
Well, on my end, I would like to, we can announce that SolidWorks Service Pack 3 is out, and you already saw, Kevin and I showed the SolidWorks inspection. I think that's, for me, it's like, yay, it was in Service Pack 3. What again, I know a lot of companies is, waiting for certain service pack before they start updating for their next release. Service Pack 2 is normally where I think that if you want to wait for Service Pack 1 to come out, and then you maybe, if you just want to be secure, Service Pack 2 comes out. We saw earlier with Rob from SolidWorks talking about how they go into their next development. So after Service Pack 2, there's really not much in regards to any issues inside the software, but that SolidWorks inspection came with Service Pack 3 just shows that SolidWorks have a lot of different products out there, and they want to get them in there. They don't necessarily want to wait putting them in your hands until the major releases. So Service Pack 3 is out. You can go and download it right now. You should download it if you can. If you don't have to, or go and back to your IT department, whatever you have to do. And then other news. Well, I just wanted to show a couple of things that I think that you guys might be excited about. So if we jump to CADimensions.com, but we all know how to get there, right? CADimensions.com. A couple of things that I just would like to point out for people if you're not aware is that we have our training and seminars event right here. This is a really good overview of all the different things that we have scheduled, the free events for you to attend, including these morning shows, or if there's something about 3D printing is becoming huge, and the 3D printing, we have a lot of things informing you guys about that. So that's definitely something to be aware of, that we have that. Of course, our resources. If you go to our videos here. You will see the latest, some of the latest videos that we recorded. And actually, these will take you right out to our YouTube channel. So we have a huge YouTube channel where we have all these different things available to you. You know, one of the things we're aware of is that, you know, the better you are with the software, the better it is for us. So we're trying to give you as much content as possible for you guys to, you know, dig into some of the different features that is inside of our products. And that also means now when we're sitting here, you know, if you have any ideas of things you want to see, you know, please let us know. Now, if you go to contact, you will actually see that also there's the CADimensions blog, and this is something that we're excited about. My good friend here, Kevin, you'll see here that he's actually blogging out here too. So, you know, we all want to dig into his SolidWorks knowledge, and this is a place to go out and read some of this stuff too. You can subscribe to it, and then you can get, you know, more information, giving you more platforms to really see things. So we're pretty excited about this this blog and how, you know, we're trying to get more stuff to you guys, and please let us know if there's more we can do. That's why we're here, right?
Absolutely.
And then, well, oh, I get the slide for our upcoming event. So this is the upcoming event I just showed you before. If you go to our website where you can register for it. So if you're like me, you can't remember what you did a couple of seconds ago. So go to CADimensions.com, training events, and down here there's seminar and events, and this is where you can register right over here to the right. So, you know, you can go there. So some of the upcoming ones that we should talk about is that we actually have another lunch and learn coming up here soon on EPDM templates. That's a good one. Electrical is just taking off. So if you have any electrical inside of your facility working with that kind of stuff, and you haven't taken a look at SolidWorks Electrical, I think you owe yourself to do that. We got some, I love this one, direct editing inside of Lunch and Learn coming up. That's going to be you, right? It's going to do that one. Is it Tom?
I think that's Tom.
That's Tom. What's doing that one? All right. Well, I know that I'm doing the mold tools because I remember that I signed up for that one. So there's a lot of stuff here. So, you know, please do that. And then I'm going to finish up with this one here. And that was that if you attended the Lunch and Learn we did this Wednesday on display tools, you know, we understand that giving you access to our YouTube channel and trying to provide you this material, there's more we can do. And I thought that maybe what we could do was, you know, make sure somebody can get a nice large cup of coffee every morning to kick their week off with. So we had a little quiz about our upcoming training schedule, and I will make sure that Kevin, not you, Kevin, but Kevin from Max Pro, that he's going to get a gift card for Dunkin' Donuts, and see if we can't get one of these fancy CADimensions marked down to him too. Send him some swag, and thank him for attending our Lunch and Learn, and also for having some fun with us with sending in the answer that we are going to have an advanced molding class in Syracuse soon. So thank you so much. That was really all that we kind of like had planned for today. I would like to thank you all for taking the time, all of you guys, this morning with us. Kevin, you know, thank you. It's always a pleasure sitting next to you and get some dollars from you.
Do it again soon.
Let's do it soon.
Just to close, a couple questions that we have out here. Just to make sure I'm clear, we have Mark questioning about, with the CircuitWorks Lite ability to import circuit boards, what about importing point data? And if I'm clear on this, I'm thinking more of the scan to 3D from Premium that has point cloud data that you can import.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I would say that's one area that without the scan to 3D in Premium that you can't import the point cloud data. So that you'll have to use. And then he asked about importing G-code. And SolidWorks directly out of the package, you can't import your G-code, but maybe you can.
Well, so the way I read that one was with the inspection tool. So with the standalone version, if you have your G-code as like a PDF or something like that, that could be a way you could capture it and put it into an Excel sheet or something like that. That's probably some ways around that. It's good thinking. I love that, right? So it's kind of like thinking outside the box.
The CMM, maybe some of the CMM.
Yeah. I think that there's some possibilities there.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, man. Good as
Thanks,
always.
everyone.
Thank you. Have a great Friday.